Hello there, YouTube. My name is WebKid, and I'm starting this series called Preparing for Technical Interviews. So, who am I, right? Why should you listen to me? Why should you care? So, I go by the name as WebKid, right? I live and breathe all things related to development. My hope for this channel is to share my experiences and some things I've done to really just grow in the field of development so that you can grow too, right? So, if you're new and you don't really know what technical interviews are, here's a little definition, right? Technical interviews are a way for employers to determine your thought process and your problem skills as a candidate. They really are trying to see, okay, if we bring this guy on or girl on, what ways can they solve the problems that we give them, right? How fast can they solve them? Like if there's no time for asking questions, right? Can they hit the ground running? These are the things they're trying to assess in technical interviews. You might have heard of technical interviews in some big tech companies like Google, Microsoft, or Amazon. It's a very popular trend right now. A lot of companies are starting to do it or are already doing it. So what I'm going to do for these series is I'm going to talk about my experiences, right? So I'm still what I would call a junior level developer, right? But I have experiences that I think are very important. One being that technical interviews are very important and a lot of people struggle with them. Especially myself. I used to avoid applying to jobs that involve technical interviews just because they were, to me, that difficult. Even from someone coming from a CS background, I still did not do them. But after a while I said, you know what, why am I limiting myself to smaller opportunities, right? When I could be doing much larger things for myself. So I took the time and I put in the work, and now I can say I'm a much more confident developer. I go into technical interviews, I'm not sweating, I'm not panicking, because of what I'm going to share with you is what I did and where I was able to really shine. So let's get into that. So the plan, right? So for the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do big O fun, right? This is what we're going to do, is talk about a little bit of the big O notation. So we're going to go over things such as time and space complexity, which are very important in technical interviews. They're usually seen as follow-up questions to the problem that you're given from the interviewer. Like they'll be like, hey WebKid, I need you to tell me what the time and space of this problem is. Okay. You seem like you know what you're doing, right? So then we're going to go into different sections such as arrays, strings, linked lists, trees and graph, and then some advanced topics like dynamic programming and what I call the greeds, which is just greedy algorithms. So I want to structure this in a way where the programming language I'm going to most similarly, and I say similarly because I'm not going to really use constraints from it, but I'm going to choose Java just because that's what I learned in school and that's what I'm comfortable with. But it will kind of be a kind of pseudocode, so just bear with me. I'll explain things in a later video. And also a thing I want to point out is when you're starting out with technical interviews, you might just go to Google and be like, hey, how do I prep for these? And you're going to see a lot of responses such as, okay, go on LeetCode, buy Cracking the Code in interview, go on HackerRank, or a bunch of other sites and sources. But I feel the problem with that is if you're not coming from a CS background, or you're not that, or you are, but you're not that great at data structure and algorithm, it's going to be very difficult to do those type of questions. And that's just me speaking from personal experience, so please take that with a grain of salt. So what I did is structure in this series around, we're going to be doing what I call confidence boosters. So for each of these sections, such as like arrays, strings, and linked lists, we're going to be doing a bunch of problems. But what our goal is we're trying to see what's going on with each problem and how to tackle them and what we should be doing in technical interviews. Like, for example, one important thing that a lot of developers will say is you have to keep talking during your interview, no matter what it is. If you don't even have a concrete idea, just say it anyways, because this helps you in the end. Because if you are stuck on a problem and your interviewer knows what you're thinking, they can guide you in the right direction or even drop some hints. So remember, this is the one time you don't want to shut up, okay? So for this next part, I want to talk about my commitment and some advice. So I promise you that once you've completed the problems and gone through the videos on my channel, you will be a more confident developer. And I'm just saying that from my experience, because I never used to apply to the jobs that involve technical interviews because I was nervous and I didn't feel like I could do them. But after I spent time, many weeks, just going over problems, understanding my CS fundamentals, I was really able to be a more confident developer. Now I go into technical interviews and I just breeze through them. Well, not breeze through them, but I feel more confident. I'm not sweating, I'm explaining myself. I'm asking for maybe tips and suggestions as I'm working through the problem. So for the problems that we're doing in the next series and videos is I will do my best to go step by step through the problems so that you as the viewer can really see what's going on. And then the next thing I want to go over is we are aiming to see patterns, not just solutions. What I mean by that is in the real world, you're not going to be given the same problem over and over again. You're going to be given different problems. But the thing is, you might see some similarities from problems you've done before, which is the pattern. So now that you have seen that pattern, you'll know what to do when you encounter new or similar problems. So remember, that's one of our goals, to see patterns. And that can sadly only happen by doing a lot of practice. And then finally, what I want to finish off with is when you're done on my channel, go to other sites and resources like LeetCode and Cracking the Code interview. They have more difficult and challenging problems, which I feel that if you're aiming for the tech giants like Google or Amazon, you really should do those because you're applying with thousands and thousands of candidates. So the questions need to be more difficult just because if they gave everybody an easy problem, then everybody would be just getting in, and that wouldn't be the best thing for them as a company. So go to do those more difficult problems. But because if you started from my channel and you've practiced and done some tips and suggestions, again, grain of salt, you'll have more confidence going into those problems. And I promise you, if you just stick with it and you practice and practice, go over the problems thousands and thousands of times. Well, not thousands and thousands of times, but you get the idea. You'll be a confident developer, you'll see patterns, and you'll know what to do when you encounter new problems. And finally, if you're ready to be a part of the tech prep journey, please like, subscribe, and